Okay, nobody unmute yourselves. Nobody do that. I'll create a circular sound. It'll be terrible. It will all blow up. All right. Welcome everybody to yet another exciting hybrid meeting of the Ballpark Community Council. Harrison, we haven't blown up yet, but thank you. Harrison is our tech support for Salt Lake Community College. We're very grateful again that they are allowing us to use this space and use this hybrid classroom. Could folks indicate in the chat that they can hear me? That would be really helpful. Oh, thank you, Daniel. Thanks everybody. Excellent. Okay. What would also be helpful is if you could direct message the East Liberty Park account, which is the host of the meeting, your address if you have not answered an email directly from them if you are online. We are trying our best to do this hybrid vote as best we can. In the future, we might try to amend the bylaws so it's not an anonymous vote, because that might make things way easier for everybody involved and we won't have to try to double and triple check. But what we're trying to do here is to ensure that everybody is a member of the Ballpark Community Council, but still allow for anonymous voting. We are making our very best effort here. So again, please direct message the East Liberty Park Community Organization you're at. No,
they're not direct messaging. It's just perfectly fine. I can take it just from the chat. So,
well, I don't see it. So if it's showing up in the chat, then they have direct messaging. Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you all for signing in and participating. This is a great participation. We also have quite a few people here in person, which is a generous use of people's time, especially on a Thursday night. And in-person meetings exciting. Okay. Are we ready to get this show on the road? I hope so.
You're gonna have to give me a second to let all the people who are,
Okay, we're gonna have to wait a few seconds. So maybe it would be helpful to want to talk about livable streets while we do some checks and balances. And I know Shannon has already heard about livable streets, so that's not doing her a disservice.
Are you guys talking to that computer? Or?
I believe the world can hear you.
Okay.
Can folks?
Am I on the screen? Let me get in the camera. There I am.
All right.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
If you'd like to, come up and join me up here, you're more than welcome. If that would make you feel like you're speaking to the room behind you. Yeah, the camera's facing that way. So why don't you? I'd love to have. Come on down. Come on up.
So last night we were at the library and it was totally different. We had a microphone and everybody could hear me. Can you guys hear me in the back?
Yeah. So supposedly there's that microphone in the ceiling is what's allowing this hybrid classroom to work.
Okay. So I'm just here to kick off the.
Thank you for joining.
Livable Streets. Thank you for letting me come. Livable Streets is a program that the City Council financed about $2 million a year to build traffic calming throughout the city, and the city's been split up into 100+ zones, and then each zone is ranked. So every area or neighborhood is ranked as far as traffic and demographics, and trying to create an equitable spreading of the traffic calming love throughout the city. So the good news is we're doing the top 10 right now, and Ballpark neighborhood is ranked 5 out of 113 zones, because you have some interesting traffic that we're going to meet with residents and talk about traffic calming. On the back of this handout, I'm sorry for your online folks, maybe you can see that. This zone goes from 13th South to 17th South, and from State Street to West Temple. And the streets that were eligible for traffic calming are the neighborhood streets with actual residents who live on them. And the focus is probably mainly on West Temple and Kensington and the side streets, nothing on Main Street, nothing on State Street. And what's interesting about your neighborhood is major streets included as an eligible street. And I looked at major streets, really interesting. It's got 8 traffic dips for drainage. So they're like an inverted speed hump. And the program really recommends speed reducing features and safety features, but mainly speed humps and raised crosswalks. So I think West Temple is just an ideal street for maybe 4 raised crosswalks and maybe 4 or 5 raised speed humps. And we have a new speed hump. I had a slideshow, but I don't want to bore you guys tonight. But if you come to the meeting that we're going to have in 2 weeks, we don't have a meeting room yet, but we're proposing doing it at the Public Utilities Building. They have a tiny area there that we can meet. And but to find out the exact date and time, there's a link on here. If you go to the square here on the handout, and or you can Google Livable Street Salt Lake City and find out about the meeting. So anybody can find it. And it's for the Ballpark neighborhood in Zone 5. So I'm not going to get the specifics, other than I used to come here in high school and go swimming. It was the best pool in the state. I don't know if you guys remember that. So I have fond memories of swimming here at South High. Does anybody have any questions about the program? Has anybody heard about it? Anybody?
Heard about it briefly. So could you maybe talk to us about how this program relates to, we're undergoing a neighborhood rezone, and there's been the Ballpark Station area plan.
It's not related to anything.
Not related to
It's
any
totally,
of that whatsoever.
Just neighborhood traffic calming, making the streets safer. But it is related to one thing that happened in the city. The council and mayor decided got together and said, hey, let's make the streets safer. Let's lower the speed limits to 20 and 25 and 30 throughout the city. And oh my gosh, can you just change a sign and expect people to slow down on a street? Impossible, right? So without some physical changes to the street, that's really not practical. So for instance, on West Temple, what's the speed limit? Does anybody know?
25.
25. And there's a lot of parking on the street. It's pretty narrow, but impossible to go 25. So we're collecting data right now on the streets. We'll have data at the meeting talking about how to get that speed from what's probably about 30 something down to 25, how we can do that by changes to the streets. And if there's any special traffic problems, I won't talk about neighborhood byways. That's a separate program altogether in Kensington. But
you're welcome to. We put a lot of effort into that application.
But we're cognizant of that. We're going to make the byways better with our program. So Kensington is an eligible street. So we're not doing much on Main Street in Kensington. That's a separate project. Okay. So everybody attend the meeting if you can, and it'll be really fun. We'll have at least 2 meetings. The first meeting will come up with a lot of ideas from y'all, from the residents, and we'll combine those and come up with a program. I proposed a project list, and that's what we'll go forward with for your neighborhood. So look forward to meeting y'all at the next meeting. It's probably gonna be 2 weeks from now, once we get the date and time and the place figured out. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah,
So it looks like we have a question in the chat, and so I
Okay.
probably should try to display the chat up there, but one of our neighbors who's an engineer, John Allison, offers that people are only gonna slow down when the road is engineered to slow people down. And the roads are wide and straight and have unobstructed views, people will naturally drive faster no matter what speed limit proposed. So, are we thinking of things beyond speed bumps, speed
so
humps?
in my, I have a really awesome slideshow, which it includes, if you look on your handout. So, traffic circles are eligible. But mainly, raised crosswalks and speed tables and speed humps is the main slowdown. But, for instance, on Major Street, you've got a lot of angled parking.
Yeah.
How do we make angled parking safer? Well, we do fold outs at the intersections. So fold outs are an option. So you guys online can't see that. All those things are on here, and even things like those speed limit signs that say go the proper speed limit and flash back your speed. Yeah.
Those are more of a
things like that.
temporary solution, right? For like, they don't keep it there all the time. That's like for a period of time, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I know there's the long-term solutions. And the short-term solutions.
Should I repeat your question to the? Can you guys hear that out?
Oh, sorry,
Online?
I didn't speak very loud.
Maybe not. But anyway, that's all I had, and so I appreciate you letting me come tonight. Just and thanks for letting me go first. I could sneak out.
Sure. So is this map, is that the website that I can share with
Yes,
online land,
Uh-huh.
livable streets?
and we're zone 5.
Okay.
There's lots of good bike. I don't know if it's really cool.
Okay.
Lots of good.
Can I have one of those, please?
Yes. Did everybody get one?
Thank you.
I'll come back and give you one. I got plenty. Yeah, you know how these things work, you go on your phone and it goes straight to the website.
QR code.
You are. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm as good as I can be. Probably have a couple of questions, just but other than that.
Okay, let's get this party started and then we can move on to detective ballots and all the other good stuff. Welcome to the first time we've done ballpark elections in person since 2019, I believe. So,
Yeah.
See you next week.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
thank you very much. Okay, so, we have, since the last time we met, we have 2 board members who are continuing in their roles, Jeff Sandstrom and Kevin Flausch, whose last name I always mispronounce. Kevin, would you please pronounce your last name for me clearly? And we've had 2 board members resign, Fraser Nelson and also Doug Flagler. And I'm up for re-election and I'd love to continue, but so obviously I don't have to. So, but we're also looking for other nominations to replace our very valued board members who, and we thank them very much for their service. You can go watch Doug successfully run the Central Ninth Community Council, where he has effectively saved a community council that was going to be completely shuttered about 1.5 years ago. Now it is thriving. And Fraser Nelson is doing a lot of exciting work in nonprofits with newspapers across the country. So they're both dedicated to the good. So nominations would be great.
Jeff Sandstrom, one of the board members. I'd like to nominate someone who I hold in high regards. Her name is Valerie Tuaone, and she's a local business owner, and I think she would be a fantastic addition to our board.
Valerie, thank you so much for coming and thank you for your dedicated business ownership in our neighborhood. Thanks for having me. Yes, please.
I'd like to nominate John Margetts, also a business owner in the Ballpark neighborhood, as a member of the community.
John Margetts, we also appreciate your business ownership and your leadership on 300 West. It's been very valuable.
Can I get the spelling of that?
Oh, good point.
Yeah, JOHN MARGETTS.
MARGETTS.
GETTS, yeah.
Great, okay. You are doing the online meeting, so you have to take nominations from your.
I do. If anybody would like to make an online nomination, I'm happy to. Oh, thank you, Mary Woodhead. I'm sorry, my window was covering the chat window. Thanks, Mary. Let's see, should I unmute you? Probably. Mary, would you raise your hand so I can pick you out of the 60 participants? I find that helpful. Thank you very much.
60, great.
Hi, I was willing to do my nomination just in writing in the chat, but I would like to nominate Amy Hawkins for chair
Okay,
if she needs to be renominated.
Thanks, Mary Woodhead.
Second.
If I can nominate someone.
I have Amy. So just to be clear, it's really easy to do it in the room. So the difficult thing is that we have to create a poll for y'all out there that are online. So this is something that it does take a little work. So thank you so much for being patient. I just need to know all the nominations so I can add it into the poll.
Nominate Kevin Clonch and I
Launch.
and I nominate Janice Lou.
Okay. For board members.
Yes.
Hi, Janice. Do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Janice, I look forward to hearing more about your qualifications. I know about some of them, and I know you've done a lot of great service.
So so far I only have Amy Hawkins being nominated for chair. And then for the two open positions, I have Valerie, Janice, and John.
All right.
Okay, so then we're having some issues with someone who's hearing impaired, so we're gonna have to go back through and read for folks who can't hear us very well.
Okay.
Thank you for being clear. If there's anybody else who has an ADA requirement, please type it in the chat so that we can help you. Okay, I gotta be clear that I've only seen one chat. You said they were DMing me, but I only see one chat.
If you see a little direct message thing next to your chat, it should. You do not. Okay.
They're all coming through in the.
I see no addresses, so if people have sent you their addresses.
Yeah, I understand that part.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that you are clear that you're running the meeting and I'm not monitoring the chat. What I'm trying to tell you.
What they call dead air.
I'm sorry. Let's see.
It's okay. You just gotta-
Okay, so I'm ready to launch the poll whenever you close the nominations.
According to our bylaws, folks have the option of speaking for 3 minutes before we vote.
Are there any other nominations? Do you want to call for, yeah, to ask if there's any more?
Yes, I would love to call for if there are more nominations.
I would like to nominate Jeff Sands. If he's willing.
To
Well,
You already
I-
have- you can renew
my
these
term
continues.
doesn't renew until next year.
Oh, okay. And Kevin, so I'm not sure.
Next year, so we're still.
I did not know.
But I appreciate you.
So just to state this again, in that there is the board chair position that is currently open. The only nomination we have at this point at 7:22 is Amy Hawkins. We have 3 folks who have been nominated to 2 board positions, Valerie, Janice, and John. Do you guys want to hand out the ballots and sort of start that process? Amy, are you taking more? Are you taking more?
I am, the floor is open if anybody else wants to.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So are there 3 openings? We can.
There are 3 in the set that I am rerunning, so, and so there are 3.
And then is asking.
Yeah,
Which should explain eligibility.
oh, yeah. So,
Very well, so I find myself thinking. I should do that, but I'm not, but I should.
let's see. I'm gonna repeat the request to fill in the addresses.
I don't think anywhere.
Oh, you don't?
No, I'm good.
Oh, you're good. I apologize.
Like, I'm good on everything except for just making sure that we have all the nominations so that the online poll can be closed and we can.
Don't really want to waste folks' time on this speech. It's something that I'm personally nominated to chair.
Hey, I mean, I feel like the people in the chat have asked, you know, to get an opportunity from the panel. So, you know, that's basically up to you how you would choose to run your meeting.
All right. I'm happy to talk for 3 minutes, maybe Brandy, maybe you could talk. No, I know.
Exactly.
So apologies, folks, for distributing ballots in the room. I don't mean to waste folks' time, but I'll give a. Actually, folks,
You need to close the nomination before.
oh, thank you. Okay.
So,
Any last nominations before I close the floor to nominations? Thank you, Christina, who knows?
I close the nominations.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Okay, all right. Nominations are closed. I almost called them Bob's Rules of Order, which is terrible.
And when you're ready to start.
Sure. All right, thanks. I've heard it's a little bit hard to hear online because of the way the microphone is in the room, it's up there, so. Let's try to keep. Especially when the candidates are talking, let's try to keep cross chat with them, and just so folks online can hear them clearly. Then we can gossip all we like. Hi, my name is Amy Hawkins. I'd like to continue serving as the neighborhood's community council chair, and I try to make jokes to keep this a little bit more interesting sometimes. I think we've accomplished some serious neighborhood advocacy for the ballpark since I've started serving in this position in July 2018. We've had 2 successful capital improvement applications. I led the collaboration across District 5 neighborhoods on the Kensington Avenue application. We applied in 2019. We reapplied in 2020. We met with community leaders and I solicited letters of support from the Utah Pride Center, the Salt Lake City School Board, Principal Pam Peterson from Innovations Early College, High School, and extended the collaboration across District 5. We also supported the application for Jefferson Park improvements in 2021. We reapplied in 2022, and we were ultimately successful there as well. Other things that we've accomplished, we've got some great neighborhood celebrations under our belt. In August 2021, we held our Night Out Against Crime event at the ballpark. Over 100 people showed up for hot dogs and games on the field. And in September 2023, 200 people showed up for our block party in the ballpark. We are moving forward with celebrating this neighborhood. I also acknowledge that our neighborhood has some real challenges, right? We try to acknowledge our issues with crime. We're trying to work on things like get more attention to our neighborhood's alleyways with pedestrian level lighting. And we can ask Jeff Sandstrom, what is the most passionate thing? What is the thing that caused me to join the Ballpark Community Council? It's because I want more pedestrian level lighting in the neighborhood to make it more safer and activated for folks to walk around. And in 2021, we were successful in pushing back against getting a third shelter in the neighborhood, the Brooklyn Avenue shelter. I am all for people experiencing homelessness having access to resources, but I don't think that we should reconcentrate all resources dedicated to homelessness in the Ballpark neighborhood. I don't think that would serve our neighborhood effectively. I'm excited to keep leading the way. The engagement that we've seen, the thing that most excites me, I can name off these individual accomplishments, but the thing that most excites me is we used to get 10 people at our meeting, 15 on a good month. And now we're getting 100. The thing that I care most about is engagement across the board. And I want to keep engaging everybody as much as I can. I want to keep getting folks on the board. I want to expand the board in a deliberate, thoughtful way across our neighborhood. And I want to keep collaborating with our other community councils and accomplishing things. But mostly I want to keep engaging with you. Good one.
Great, that was perfect, because Amy, I think that when you set up the poll, you only let, from what I understand from the chat, you only let people get a single choice for the board members, so we're gonna have to redo.
That's terrible.
And pardon everyone online, Amy is gonna have to reset up.
Okay, because we need our board members to be able to have a chance, an opportunity to speak to the neighborhood.
And we also need to have single, rather than one single choice, there needs to be two, vote for two.
Good point.
So do you want to do it on this computer, or do you want to do?
I believe I have to do it on the host computer.
I am ending the poll for everyone out in Zoom, and Amy is going to reload the poll. So. And also, we should probably wait until after you've heard from all of the prospective nominees. Before joining the poll.
Would you like us to go ahead and speak while we're getting that going?
Should we time it?
Just 1 second, this will just take 1 second,
Yeah.
and it, yeah, there's a lot of distractions that end up in mistakes. What are you?
Select that option since
I don't know, I don't think this is your. I don't know. You need to be your opinion.
what if I create two questions? We have them both placed in each one? That's how I would do
None of us focus on it, especially.
All right. Shall we?
It, you know, it's a lot different when you have 60 people online, so congratulations to the Ballpark community, it's pretty incredible, yeah.
And we have one pug. Oh. Is he gonna be?
And.
I'm sure you would bark his support.
He's a Okay, I think we are ready to hear from our. Just finish it.
Yeah.
That's nice. All right.
They can, choice 2 would be an option for a write-in candidate, if you're interested in writing in somebody. Okay, so saving.
Your chairs are too comfortable.
And launching the new poll. Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
Now we're gonna hear from your nominees for the board.
Let's do it.
Let me know.
I do. John Durarco. I do. Well, I don't.
My name is John Margetts. I am a business owner of a small business on. Excuse me, am I in now? Okay.
Yeah.
How's that? I'm a business company friend.
No, it's great.
All right.
My name is John Margetts, and I'm a small business owner here in Salt Lake. We're on the 300 West corridor. And about a couple of years ago, I found myself complaining, if you will, about some of the issues that we've had in the neighborhood. Some of them related to homeless encampments, general crime, and things like that, things that I think all of us have seen. And as I complained to other business owners and friends, I found that complaining doesn't do a lot of good. So I decided about 6 months ago to do something. And I got together with some other business owners, and we've organized a cleanup project with the homeless center where we donate gift cards. And once every 2 weeks, members of the homeless center will go out into the community and pick up trash. And in return, we give gift cards to them as kind of a reciprocal type thing. I decided to try and do something positive for the neighborhood rather than just sit around and complain. So my purpose for running for this as a board member, frankly, is to align with other business owners along the 300 West corridor, which comprise a large part of this neighborhood, and bring to this council just some of the ideas and the things that we could do to help in the neighborhood. And that's my purpose for running here in general. So I would appreciate your vote and your consideration. And in return, I would like to continue to organize with other business owners and individuals along our area to make this neighborhood a better place for all of us. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Valerie Tuoane. I am the owner of Mammy's Bar on the corner of 17th South and Main Street. I don't really have a lot to say. I will mention some things I'm very interested in. I'm very interested in like what happens with the actual ballpark, as I'm sure all of us are. I don't know what we even can, what kind of say or whatever we have in those things, but preservation. I grew up in Salt Lake City. My family grew up in Salt Lake City. We are old school Salt Lake City family, and it's really hurtful to see our birthright just get sold out from under us all the time, and that is really something that I have a lot of interest in. I have done a lot of, years and years ago, I used to volunteer for like the Democratic Party and things like that. Lately, I've just been focused on myself and my own business, but I think that it's well time to like give back to the community, and so Jeff talked to me about this position and here I am giving it a go. So I don't really know if I have anything else to say. I live in Liberty Wells. I don't leave this ballpark area, like one of those. I don't leave 21st to 13th South. Like this is my area, this is my neighborhood. So the well-being of this community, this neighborhood, both the ballpark where my business is and Liberty Wells is very, very important to me. We can all talk about the homelessness. It's a daunting project, we all know, and the issues that lead us to where we are and should be addressed. And I love the idea of encouraging cleanups and, reward systems for that. So, but we can't figure it all out in one meeting. So here I am throwing my hat in just to see if there's something I can bring a perspective that maybe is worthwhile. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Yeah. Great, Janet.
Hi, I'm Janice. I'm gonna just tell you a little bit about myself. I've lived in Salt Lake City for over 25 years. And I owned a home on 300 East, just west of Liberty Park. And so for the past 7 years, I've been living at Ballpark Apartments on West Temple. And as you were, so much has been going on in our neighborhood. So I thought that I'd like to get more involved. And I have a professional experience as an urban planner. And so I thought that I might be able to help with making our neighborhood a better and stronger place to live and work. And just to be brief, I just want to thank you for considering me for this opportunity to make a greater contribution to our neighborhood. And I'm one of those people who's walking the streets all the time, so yeah. I'm well aware of the issues, and I'm also, like a very observant person. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for everybody who is putting themselves forward. Really appreciate it. We've got a lot of talent in our neighborhood. We've got to do that. Jeff, do you want to be in charge of the guys? Is there anything about the closing speeches? Nothing about that in Robert's rules, right? Terrible.
One day.
Gave itself fire. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Now is the point at which people will need to turn on their videos. There's a lot of people that are voting for their videos. So I'm going to ask you to double check the online, make sure that the people that you're watching are I cross-reference some people.
I'm typing out the request. You can also say it, but. All right.
Yeah.
Lots of cameras up there in Zoom land. This is the time that we need you to, if you're gonna vote, we need you to turn your camera on. Thank you for complying. This is what you get for not actually physically coming to the room.
And you can just once over and make sure that you recognize the people that are cameras on, because
Yep, I'm seeing a lot of familiar folks here on screen one, for sure.
Mike Dillon. I didn't get confirmation from someone. Although I knew it.
Yes.
Yes, I didn't get confirmation from Mike. I don't know. Can you go ahead and just message me your
address, please? And my kids, and I live my kids, they're way very nice. I can climb up on the river. They haven't cleaned it up.
Anybody else want to vote with your camera on? It would be very helpful. I don't know how to make your vote count. Voting with your camera off.
Well, you don't and could raise their voting. And the ones that on that don't have their cameras on.
I am not sure if you're voting.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody else.
But they used to have that.
We're good.
Now we had a. Are you ready to intro this map? We actually get. Secure the bag.
Yeah.
You know, it's unnatural. That's fine. I don't like it. Like, Andrew, we get back.
Balance and all the stuff we don't talk about.
Okay, so there is.
Imagine.
Before we end the poll.
Terrific. Alrighty. One more minute to think your deep thoughts. Folks in the room.
So are you planning on having your poll now? Are you planning on doing that or before the rest of your meeting? So that's gonna take a while.
If it's gonna take a while, I think we ought to run the rest of the meeting. So. All right, no one's gonna.
Is
Yes,
there
sir.
a limit to the number of council chambers? we can have on the community council?
We currently have a limit of 5.
Oh.
I think we're the average for board members, but we're looking forward to expanding, especially with regards to getting some good geographic representation. I don't know if we've ever had somebody off of 300 West, for example, you know, there are areas where we want to do it in a thoughtful way. Make sure that we're not accidentally just getting everybody to the around 1700s out or something like that.
Spread out.
Yep.
Okay, so there is 2 meetings happening here. There's one online and there's one in the room. So Amy, I need you to speak more clearly,
You bet.
like you're running the meeting, because I can't.
Sorry.
This.
I apologize. I was answering an individual question.
Okay, so
All
if
right.
you're gonna answer an individual question, you should probably do it out
Out
loud,
loud.
so the people
Great.
who are in Zoom can actually hear you.
Got it. Okay. You should. Thank you, Mary. I'll use my outdoor voice. Alrighty, are we ready to wrap this poll up? I think we are. We've got 41 folks who participated online. Thank you very much. 42, terrific. And folks in here, are we ready to collect? We've already turned them in. Excellent. Okay. And let's move on and see if Detective Fallows is still with us. Okay. It actually takes more than one person to run a hybrid meeting effectively. The weirdest thing. Okay, moving right along. Detective Fallows, would you put your paw up? I know we've got some questions for you, and I know you're in here. You've got great lighting. Would you unmute Detective Fallows? Excellent.
There we go. Is that working? Alrighty.
I can't see his face then.
Think you can close that.
Minimize that.
Oh,
Slide it over.
Oh, yeah.
I got it. I was. But
all right.
I have to continue to look at it.
Oh, and I can put that right there. Is that okay?
Control.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Hello, Detective Sam Fallows. I know we have some public safety questions for you, and thank you as always for your service. Uh-oh. Did you muted yourself. Why did you do it? I'm getting started. Requesting to unmute the team spotlight. Okay. Now I'm gonna find him again.
Sorry about that. I was trying to put some in the chat and I hit enter and it muted me. Okay. Are we ready to
Yeah.
go ahead? Okay.
So ready?
Perfect. Well, I'm Detective Sam Fallows. I'm the community liaison detective for District 5. If you don't know me. So one of the things that I do is just kind of come to the community council meetings and report on just some things that are going on in the neighborhood and things like that. So to begin, I put some links up in the chat for those that are online. They're just some kind of helpful links about no trespass signs, on finding our online statistics, and just a bunch of different little things there. So that is for, well, really everyone, but everyone online will be able to see it a little bit easier. Tonight, I just wanted to go over a couple of simple things and then take any questions if anybody has any. So the first thing we'll talk about is the Main Street Motel update. There, as of today, I believe it is, or as of yesterday, I believe it should be closed. I met with the owner and we kind of went over his plan for how he plans on keeping the area, to do his part to keep the area clean, safe, and free from trespassers and things like that. So we were able to get the trespass affidavit on file and updated. he is going to be having someone there on site, just one person on site. They'll be watching the location to call the police if there are any issues. They will be shutting off all the utilities and the power to the units that are unused or in the back of the location there. They're planning on putting up plywood and basically closing off the building. And there's an expectation that each room will be checked each and every day. And there should be a fence going up soon if there's not one already that will help secure the property. So the owner, David Pope, he assured me that these things are happening or will happen. So I will be following up with him just to make sure, and just kind of working to be a partner with him and with the community to make sure that that location stays safe and free from any major issues. So part of that is what I will ask from you all as my community members, and especially those that live nearby or have a business nearby the Main Street Motel. If you are seeing issues, then please call the police on those, and then either have Amy reach out to me, or you can reach out to me directly through like an email or something and let me know about it as well. I coordinate quite a bit with the East Side Bike Unit, Sergeant Christensen and his squad. And so we're kind of constantly feeding each other back and forth with information. So we'll be working together on that as well. So those are the big updates with the Main Street Motel. There's a couple of questions. There is, so from Kelly Lake, will there be support services to help the residents transition to other housing rather than the streets? I don't know if there's anything specific for the Main Street Motel, but right now, all of the overflow beds, well, not all of them, but a lot of them are open. West Valley just opened up 170 beds today, or I believe it was yesterday, actually. So there are 170 open beds that came open today. There will be an additional several that are opening up in Sandy for some of the medically and medically vulnerable and elderly. There will be obviously the pods that will be coming online in the next little while. So all this will be hopefully able to help them. If anybody is there, we have there at the Main Street Motel that needs support, you can send them to any one of the homeless resource centers, and they can kind of check in with them. And if they don't have a bed there, or if they're not eligible to be there, then the staff at the homeless resource centers will help find them a bed elsewhere. So we will get people taken care of that way. So that is a good question. How long will the Main Street Motel be boarded up for? Is there a limit? I don't know the answer to that question. Right now it's indefinite. I'll be closely monitoring it with Mr. Pope, as well as the Sergeant Christensen and our bike unit. We will be keeping a close eye on it. And that's where I need you guys to come in as well, to kind of keep an eye on it for me, so that we can make sure nothing gets out of hand or there aren't any major issues. There is supposed to be a fence that's going up around the Main Street Motel, to answer John's question. So that should be happening if it's not already. Julia they closed the gate this afternoon. So I'm assuming that means there is some kind of a fence or something up around the property. But if it's not, it will be soon. Say it again.
Is there a question in the room?
I have one. Has that property been sold, and what are the plans for the property?
We don't know. I don't know what the plans are specifically. It's in the process of being sold right now. I don't have a ton of information on that. Amy might know a little bit more than I. Well, guaranteed she knows more about than I do than that. But as far as I understand, it is in the process of being sold. Might be a drawn out process due to some complications with the deal and stuff like that. But that's why I say I don't know how long it's going to be boarded up for. But my understanding is that it is in that process currently. How long that'll take, I don't know.
The last time I had an update about it, it was being held up in litigation.
Right.
And that's public, so I'm not telling you anything out of school. Folks can look that up themselves. I don't know what the status of that legal complaint is. It was in the process of being sold. what I got. There were plans that went to, the property was rezoned for a large multifamily apartment building, but I don't know if the sale is gonna, I don't know what will happen. Is that fair?
The nature of the legal complaint, I don't have any clue what that is. I don't know if Amy knows that, but that's Erica's question. The restaurant and the parking lot to the north, as far as I understand, are not part of this at all. Is that right, Amy?
I believe they're all part of the same parcel. That was
All the
that
same
was
parcel?
rezoned. They were all rezoned together.
Okay. See, this is why I rely on Amy for a lot of this information. She knows more than I do. Any other questions about the Main Street Motel before we move on to the next topic?
I have one comment. This is Jeff Sandstrom. The owner has, that parcel is all one large assemblage of parcels put together that is part of one real estate purchase. And as I understand that, the purchase sale of the property is what is now gone into litigation. It's been a non-performance complaint about the purchaser. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention is that all of the properties to the south, there's 2 homes that he rents as part of that parcel, and 2 homes to the west of the old Golden Dragon that are going to stay occupied indefinitely, and so is the restaurant will be occupied with Rojas Company, who's still there. So everything surrounding it is going to continue as occupied until the sale of the property is completed, and then at some point it'll probably vacate, but they're all occupied as normal until that happens.
Awesome. And that's good. Obviously we want places occupied. That helps keep crime down, helps keep issues down. So that's a positive thing for sure. Any other questions, comments about that? Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about warming fires. We're coming into that season and we're definitely there. So you might see, well, you will see these more and more. So the main caveat with fires is if you take one thing away tonight about fires, it's basically this. If you see a fire, then just call it in regardless to the fire department and let them determine whether it's what they consider, what they call like a life-saving type fire. And there's a lot that goes into that, but essentially the fire department is the one who makes the determination on any kind of charges or whether a fire will be allowed to continue or not. They have the training, the expertise, and they are the ones that are in charge of that. It's their jurisdiction. So please call if you see a fire, because especially obviously one that's unsafe, and essentially anything that would be considered unsafe to a degree, to put some kind of a definition to it, would be if there's a fire close enough to a structure, a building, a vehicle, something where you wouldn't feel comfortable walking between the car, the structure, whatever it may be, and the fire, you wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, then it's most likely going to be deemed an unsafe fire. So if you're seeing something like that, and a lot of times we see them right up against the buildings, right? We've all seen that in Ballpark and other areas throughout the city. Fires are getting lit up against fences. So those ones are 100% like 911. There's a fire, it's going to light something on, a building on fire, a fence on fire. So those are kind of no-brainers. That's not a big deal. When you're seeing one that's like a warming fire, the fire department will respond, as the police department will also respond very likely. But the fire department will respond. They will determine if it's like if it will create what they call a life safety event, meaning if they extinguish the fire, could the person who had the fire potentially then suffer a life safety event, or could they die essentially, or could they have be hospitalized because they no longer have warmth? And so again, the fire department is the one that determines that. They base it based on several different factors, such as like temperature, whether the individual is maybe like wet or something like that due to like weather conditions. And it's really kind of at their discretion to determine what that is. So there's no like hard temperature where it's like, oh, if it's 20 degrees, they're allowed to have a fire no matter what. Like none of that. It all just depends on like weather, the temperature, and all those other factors, like like if the individual is wet because for whatever reason, how close it is to structures, all those things that we just kind of covered. So in addition to that, the fire department will have to document why they left a fire going, meaning what was the life safety event that would have been created had they extinguished the fire. And then they have to make a referral to their chat team, which is their social worker program. So the police department has our social worker program, and they have a social worker program as well called the chat team. I can't remember what it stands for exactly, but that's what they're called. And you might have seen them out and about, but let's see if there's anything else to go over on that. Essentially, that's really what it is. So if there's any kind of damage or anything like that, then that will be a criminal fire, right? Like any fire that causes damage is criminal. So if you're seeing something that could potentially cause damage or is up against the fence or up against the building or very close to a building where you wouldn't feel comfortable walking anywhere near it, then that's probably something to call 911 on. If you're just seeing a fire, a warming fire, and you're concerned that it could potentially be hazardous, but you're not seeing an immediate hazard, then you can probably call the non-emergency, the 799-3000 number, and report it that way. Any questions about fires or how that process may work? No questions?
Appreciate you addressing that point, Detective Ballas, because those are questions that really do come up in the moment.
Absolutely.
When one encounters a fire, and I know several folks in this room already have encountered some fires this season, and it's a judgment call, right?
Yeah, and I would say my personal direction to you all is to call on any fire you see, but if you don't want to do that or you're not, comfortable doing that, that's fine. Just utilize the, if it's too close to a building where you wouldn't even feel comfortable walking between the building and the fire, then it's probably something that should be called on for sure, or the fence or whatever it may be.
I know another thing to keep in mind when it comes to fires in our community is just, if you see somebody who is, has been near a fire or in a tent with a fire or in a tent with a closed heat source, and they are acting really erratic and confused. There are lots of possible explanations for that confusion, but one of them could be carbon monoxide poisoning, and people, experiencing housing insecurity have passed away in Salt Lake City due to carbon monoxide poisoning. And sometimes it's because people confused it for just alcohol intoxication or mental illness or something like that. So just be aware that that's something that can happen. Cherry red palms are one of the physical signs, but probably the thing that you observe first is just profound confusion. So
For sure. Yeah, if you're seeing anyone experiencing any of that, or if you're seeing a fire in a tent or something, yeah, that's definitely call on that. More for, like Amy said, just to get the medical attention, because that's probably something they need if that's happening. So very good point. Other than that, that's what I have to present on tonight. Does anybody have any other questions or any not pertaining to what we talked about that have a question that they'd like to ask me while I'm here?
I do.
Yes.
I've called in like 2 or 3 times now, and there's 4 gentlemen and a lady on about 120 West and 2100 South still camping out on the property there. So today I told them about the new shelter that I was informed yesterday that had opened on River Road in 30 South. So I did tell them about it, but I just feel they're still staying there and nothing's been done about it.
You said 120 West and 2100 South?
Yes, it's by the storage building on 21st South.
And it's on the Salt Lake City side, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you?
And I've called it in, and yet I haven't gotten a response, but on the evaluation that I get on my phone, was it taken care of? And I had to say no, because they're still there. And they've been there for like a week and a half now. So I'm kind of concerned because of the temperature that's out there.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that can also help with that. You can submit an app like through the SLC mobile app, and we can work on getting that camp removed. Do you know about the SLC mobile app?
Yes.
So I know that one's frustrating because sometimes it'll say closed and we still see the camp there.
Yeah.
But essentially what closed means is that it's gone to the correct city division, which would be the heart team in this case. So that's one good way to get it on the radar so that we can get some, like get people over there. Calling it into dispatch is fine too. Just a lot of times our patrol doesn't have time to remove like big camps. So if you want to reach out to me, and you can get my contact info from Amy. If you'll reach out to me and maybe like an email if you can, and shoot me the case numbers that you have so I can look them up and follow up on them, and then I can kind of coordinate something as well to help you out for sure.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I would appreciate. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, just make sure you send those to me so I can do that. I'll do that for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else I can help with?
Can you see the chat, Detective
Oh,
Gallows?
I can. Yeah, let me look. Sorry, I didn't realize there's more.
Yeah, you have a question specifically from Andy Tran about a specific individual. Sounds like a troubling situation.
Yeah. I'm sure you've been calling patrol when he does come back. So on trespass calls, something I'll give you guys, we have a policy that I'm working on changing, but currently because of it's like a COVID era policy where they were trying to mitigate in-person contact. If you call in a trespasser and there's nothing more, like they're not being violent, they're not physically accosting anyone or attacking anyone, something like that. It's just a straight up like, hey, I have a person camping on my property. Then they will send it to our telephonic queue, and an officer who is like on light duty or hurt or something like that will call you to make sure that the individual is still there. And so again, this came from like a COVID era policy where we were trying to mitigate in-person contact. So we were calling to see if the person was still there. I'm trying to get this taken care of so we don't do that anymore. But right now, that's how it works. So if you get a call and you don't answer, then most likely they will clear the call out because they will just assume there's not a problem anymore, which again, I don't agree with, and I'm trying to fix it, but that is just how the policy works right now. So number one, if you call in a trespasser, just be aware you're going to get a call, most likely, and it will very likely come from like an unknown number because officers generally call from unknown number. So just make sure if you've called the police recently and you get a call from an unknown number or you get a call from a number you don't recognize, just answer it because it's very likely a police officer. And all you have to do is just tell them, yeah, the individual's still here, they're still trespassing, still causing problems. And then it'll go to the patrol queue and then we'll respond. So, and that unfortunately obviously depends on how busy we are and how much, what kind of issues we already have going on right now. So in the queue currently, so it'll be given a priority based on the information we have, and then we'll respond to it according to the other calls that are waiting in the queue. So if we have a domestic violence case or something like that, obviously we're going to go to that first, and then we'll go to like a trespassing case. So that's essentially what it is. But if all those things are happening and you're still having a problem, then I would love, we could meet and talk about other things we could do. I don't know if you already have the city issue trespass signs. Those can be helpful. I know you said he has been trespassed, but the signs can be helpful. So Andy, my contact info is in the chat. If you want to also shoot me an email, I would love to follow up with you and we can kind of talk about your business and how we can help you. In addition to that, our East Side Bikes is currently working in that area quite a bit as well. So we can coordinate with them. But so I would just say, just continue to call patrol when they show up and there's a problem. But then also reach out to me so we can work on it as well together. So that'll be something that will be helpful.
I know Sergeant Christensen from East Side Bikes is on the call, so Sergeant Christensen, if you'd like to add anything to this discussion, you're certainly more than welcome. But I also understand if you're just listening in and can't participate.
No, I don't want to step on his toes, but yeah, we're definitely in the area. So you've probably seen us, hopefully. We've been hitting a lot of the side streets, Andrew, Merrimack, Kensington, Cleveland. We're really hitting those areas pretty hard. So far this week, I mean, we've taken several felons off the street in the area. So we're trying our best to move people along the best we can. But just to reiterate, the trespass signs are definitely a huge tool for us in the area. It makes it to where we don't even need to contact the property owner. It gives us the legal authority to talk to people that are on the property without even having to contact anybody. It makes our job a little bit easier, and it allows us to pursue charges if feasible. But yeah, definitely get with Sam, and even the areas that we see that are having a big problem. I actually reach out to Sam and I let him know an specific address that we're having a big issue with. And he does a great job getting a hold of the owners and either working out a trespass affidavit or we kind of partner up to try to come up with a better solution on how to fix those problems in that specific area or that property. So Sam's a big help. And like I said, we're in the neighborhood. So if you guys see us roaming around and you want to stop and say hi, we're definitely able to stop and say hi as well. So
Perfect. Thanks, Sarge.
Thanks, Sergeant Christensen.
How can we obtain these trespass signs? Are they readily available for?
Yeah, so
Want to describe that mechanism real fast?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
And I've actually put a link in the chat, but for the trespass signs, but for those that are in person, essentially, you can reach out to me or you can just go in directly, and you'll first have to fill out a trespass affidavit, which essentially that's what gives us the legal ability to stop someone on your property who is not allowed to be there. So that's the first thing. And then the city's we have our trespass signs that are issued by the city that are required by our city prosecutor. There is a cost to them right now. Essentially what we do is we buy a big bunch of signs, like 100 and something signs, and we just sell them at what our cost is so that we can then buy the new batch and so forth. So we just sell them at cost, at what it costs us to make them. I think right now they're around $40, $45 a sign. They're a big, huge metal sign. You need at least one sign for the trespass affidavit program to work, the way it's designed to work. And then, but with that sign, what it does allow, and like Sergeant Christensen was talking about, is his squad and really every Salt Lake City police officer is trained to look for these signs on businesses. And when they see them, they can be proactive. So they don't even have to have a call for service. They can be proactive and they can go stop individuals, especially like at night. But it doesn't have to be. Sergeant Christensen's squad works during the day, so they do this all the time. But after hours, it's super helpful as well. But during any time, they can go stop an individual who clearly should not be on the property, maybe someone camping, something like that, and they can legally stop that individual, make them identify themselves, things like that. So obviously, as the police department, as most people understand, we have to have legal reasons to stop people, to talk to them. And so this helps us have that legal reason. And I mean, Sergeant Christensen's squad has arrested have made some pretty impressive arrests on like robbery suspects and, sex assault suspects and things just by simply going and making a stop on someone trespassing under one of those signs. So they are really helpful to our proactive squads, especially, but also patrol. Like if you call patrol, like, hey, I have an individual who's trespassing on my property, patrol can respond and just make an arrest right away if you have the signs in the affidavit. Because again, they either have to have those signs or the individual has to have been given a previously documented warning, which in Andy's case would be okay because that individual's been warned before. But if they haven't, then we just have to do a report and then send them on their way. And then the next time we can arrest them. So it just helps mitigate some of those problems and helps our officers and especially our bike unit and our proactive units be proactive to make stops and things like that. So the first step would essentially be, the best way would just be to reach out to me directly. Either in an email or just call and leave me a voicemail and I'll call you back and we can work it all out.
And this could be used for a condo complex, or
Yes.
any type of property, home, condo.
Yeah, any property, it does have to be the owner and or, so like if it's a condo, I usually work with the HOA president generally. Anybody who has authority to sign an affidavit. So if it was like even a house, if you own a home and you're like, hey, we're having a lot of problems with, maybe you live on an alleyway and your driveway or your garage is on the alleyway. So you have that little alcove area where you pull into your driveway or your garage. You can have trespass signs there that can help us do the same exact thing. If we're, if the bike unit's going down an alleyway and they see a trespass sign on a house and someone's camping in that little alcove, they can contact them, or our patrol can do that. So it can be anybody who owns a property or is in charge of a property within Salt Lake City.
Any more Detective Fallows questions? I don't want to interrupt. I know public safety is important to a lot of people who attend these meetings. All right. Detective Fallows, we'll let you get back to it. I have all of your links copied, so I'm happy to send them to anybody here in person. So we have these copied for you so you can have all that information. And folks online, it should be right at your disposal. Easy to see.
Yeah, and please reach out. I'm happy to help out with anything. So reach out to me.
Be safe out there, Detective Fallows.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions about the online election. I've heard that there was 2 people who wanted to vote online but didn't get in before the poll closed. They were admitted to the meeting. So Amy, will you announce again for these 2 people online, who I just registered during the meeting? Who is up for nominee, and have them talk or DM me directly.
Certainly.
Also, can I ask if Paul Svensson is in the room?
Okay.
Hey, are you leaving? Have you voted?
I did.
There's a concern whether or not you have voted, but you.
I did, yeah, I submitted, thank you.
All right, thank you for coming. You know so much.
Thanks very much. All right, for those 2 folks online, I can say out loud what was going on with the election. There was only 1 nomination for chair. It was me, Amy Hawkins. There were 3 nominations for 2 board members. There was Valerie. Valerie, would you please say your last name again so I can get it right?
It's Tuaone.
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 Thank you. That's lovely. Valerie Tuaone, Janice Liu, and John Margetts. We got 3 good choices, folks. Hope that's okay to say.
Also, I have a question that says where is the current poll? The poll was closed when we announced the poll being closed prior to the detective speaking. So the people who did not receive the poll are being asked to DM their choices directly to me at East Liberty at this point. Just to be clear, anybody who was registered for the meeting, who was on and available for the meeting, the poll would have popped up in their direct field if they were online at that time. And we just eliminated the individuals who were not registered, who were attending the meeting for other reasons and cross-referenced it with the pre-registration.
I have no interest in distracting her, but I hope you all appreciate that this is complicated and we needed assistance to get this done, and we very much appreciate the assistance. Not only in the form of another Zoom account, because we couldn't use the city library Zoom account for this purpose because they like all of their registrants to be anonymous. We needed technical support. Thank you very much, East Liberty Park Community Organization.
Yeah, and we do this for many community councils, so if anybody out there is a non-governmental community organization and you're registered with the city, we are happy to provide technical services for you as well. Okay, you can go on and I'll just wait to hear from the people online.
All right, Todd Smith, would you put your paw up? We'd love to hear from you. There you are. Todd, is there anyone else online from the Arts Alliance that you know, or would you? I'm asking you to unmute, so you're gonna have to.
There we are. How are you? I don't have anybody else from the Art Council on here, or the Art Alliance.
All right, Todd, who are you and what are you about?
Well, first of all, my name is Todd Smith. I am the event coordinator for Salt Lake City Public Lands.
Terrific.
And go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I hear we have something going on in the ballpark parking lot on Friday and Saturday night.
Change gears for this. Yeah, I'm going to change gears for your meeting tonight and add a little entertainment for you. So with the Utah Art Alliance, we are actually holding an event at the ballpark parking lot over the next 2 evenings. It is called Lumenland, and it's going to take place on November 3rd and November 4th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's at the Salt Lake City Bees parking lot, which is just north of the stadium there. Admission to this is completely free. We would just want to ensure that the entire community around us can experience the wonder and awe of the artwork that's going to be there. And it's also a very family-friendly event as well.
What do we got? We got food trucks, we have music, do we have dancers? What's happening?
Yep. So let me tell you what we've got going on. We've got food trucks, 3 to 4 food trucks each night, different varieties on each night. We do have performances. We've also got DJs going on. And the mainstay of the event is actually 10 different art installations. So the next weekend, the 10th and the 11th, will be Illuminate at the City County Building downtown. And this is the kickoff event for that. So we have a bunch of stuff going on with that too. We've got delicious food, live music, vendors will be there as well. And we're able to do this, through District 5 being able to host it under the leadership of Councilman Darren Mano. And so we really appreciate his help with this as well.
Terrific.
And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions for you while we're here.
Valerie, do you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I just missed the dates, November 3rd and 4th.
Tomorrow and the day after.
On the day after.
All right, I hope to see folks there. Be safe.
It'd be great for you guys to come down. Yep, absolutely. And I'll be at the Public Lands tent. If you guys have any questions, we will be there from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And we'll be there for you.
Sounds cool, Todd.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me on, and I hope to see you guys there.
All righty. Now we're in the know. Okay. Got 2 more things on the agenda tonight. We have housing projects and other thing I'm talking about. Yes, increasing fines for boarded buildings, something we actually care about in this neighborhood because there's some boarded buildings. Okay. But I also see Councilmember Mano on, so I'm gonna give him a soft serve, see if you'd like to talk about Lumenland or anything else. Hi there, Councilmember Mano.
Hello. just to Todd, sorry that I missed your event yesterday. I was recovering from strep throat and not contagious, so I didn't think it was a good idea to come. But I didn't prepare anything. I didn't know that I didn't plan on being on the agenda, so I'm just here to answer questions if anyone has some.
Okay. I don't know what event you're referring to, but all the
Oh,
days.
I think the Lumen Land thing had a press conference yesterday.
Oh, that, yes, okay, gotcha. I thought like, did we have an event? And I'm just.
No, Todd, the previous presenter. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any about what the council's working on. Otherwise, I don't need to take up your time.
The only thing that I've heard is that the ballpark rezone is not likely to hit city council until January. Just because you all have a pretty tight schedule. Yes, ma'am.
What about, you had mentioned abandoned buildings?
Yes.
Is this an appropriate time to voice those specific?
Well, we're gonna have a speaker come on to discuss a new policy governing fines for boarded buildings. Does that sound like something? But if you'd like to address any of your comments about abandoned buildings towards Councilmember Mono, I'm sure he'd be willing to hear you.
Well, I think abandoned buildings, they are a magnet to the types of issues we're trying to correct, like everything that probably why we're all here. So I think if these buildings remain like under the radar and abandoned, I just don't see the point in doing any of this. Like, it seems like, why don't we address the building owners or the business owners of those buildings to take action on their behalf to ensure, deal with their property. Like, I live on Major Street and there are several buildings that are either out of business, abandoned, but that's just where all of the people like to go to use drugs, to use prostitution, to be homeless. So that's really my main concern is like, how will the council make productive steps towards dealing with these abandoned properties?
So I think one of the things that we've been advocating for as a neighborhood council for years now is this policy change, is changing the fee to board your building because that'll incentivize people to not just sit on a property. If somebody's being charged a certain amount a year, they'll be incentivized to do something with it. But I know that the issue you're speaking of affects a lot of us sitting in this room. My property also borders an unoccupied home, and it's been unoccupied for the 10 years I've lived there.
So would there be no fee for boarding the building, or would there be a fee for doing
No, raising it, because the idea is boarded buildings cost communities resources, right? They cost civil enforcement officers time and resources, and we'd like to be able to help the city recoup those costs so that maybe we could even hire more civil enforcement officers so they could be able to not be so overburdened. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I'm sorry if I'm stealing whoever's thunder it is.
Darren Mono said he got muted.
Oh, sorry, Darren Mono. I have to unspotlight. I don't know how to unmute you while you're spotlighted, so I'm going to unspotlight you, then unmute you. I don't know where the unmute button goes.
Sorry, it was a habit to mute myself when I wasn't speaking, and
I've done it.
I forgot that that's not what I'm supposed to do at this meeting. Yeah, I don't want to take the thunder from the next person either, but just exactly what Amy said. This is something that I've known was important to Ballpark Community Council specifically, and I've been asking actually every budget year since I've been on the council. The fee that is charged right now for a property owner that has a boarded or vacant building is way lower than what we're legally allowed to charge. We're legally allowed to charge, we can recoup all the costs of like police and fire and civil enforcement and every city department that works on those. And so I've been asking what that amount is, and this is the result of that question. And now we need to decide what the actual amount that makes sense is, because it may not be the full amount. It may be somewhere in between. It may be graduated between, like maybe the first year is one amount and then it goes up, or it may be that we need to split them between boarded buildings that actually do cause a nuisance, and we need to define what that means, and boarded buildings that actually don't cause a nuisance, and that may be calls for service, that may be number of enforcement cases and things like that. But there's a million ways to look at this. So I'm really glad that you're talking about this tonight, because it's something I don't know exactly which direction to go, but I know that something needs to change, because right now there's no the fee is so nominal that there's no motivation for a property owner to actually do something with their property. So I'm excited to hear the presentation and the discussion.
It's hard, right? Sometimes properties fall, sometimes they get inherited, or sometimes they get lost in the legal question mark. So sometimes it's not just one bad negligent property owner. Sometimes it's that the property's in legal limbo, but this will still help incentivize those situations to get resolved faster.
And I think another aspect of it is like the parking enforcement for these properties, because I got a notice, a citation, because I had a vehicle parked on Baker Street for more than a week, I think, and they said I had to move it. But then I looked at an abandoned building, the BMW, it's on like right off of State Street and 17th South. It's like BMW something. There's a black Mini Cooper there that's been there for like 3 months that I don't see any citations or notices on that. So I don't understand why locals are being asked to do things like that, but yet abandoned buildings can park vehicles in front and there's no recourse for that. And so
That's probably mostly because of reporting. So most of the 48-hour rule is based on somebody reporting that the car's been there for longer than 48 hours. So it may just be that somebody where you parked noticed and nobody's bothered to report the Mini Cooper that's been there for a very long time. It could also be that that Mini Cooper actually leaves every few days and comes right back to the same spot. But I don't know which is true.
Yeah, it's been there a long time.
You can report it on SLC Mobile, and the parking and civil enforcement will go.
Because sometimes that's not
I've done that.
the abandoned, sometimes it's not the unoccupied building. Sometimes that just means that it was stolen and dropped there.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
a whole other issue.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just have to report it then, because, thank you.
You never know, you might be doing somebody a favor, who wonders
Curious
where their
why it
Mini
stays
Cooper
there,
is.
But I get a ticket, it's like not great.
All right. Any more questions for Councilmember Mono?
No, get better. So can I actually say something about the building or the parked cars, streets for storage loss? Is that I live in a street, there's often stolen cars too. So if we have a car that is looking like it's abandoned, the first thing we do is make sure it's not stolen. And then do solid mobile.
That's good.
So we can get cars back to people who've been stolen from. So it's just a thought, but it does happen along my where they live street, so.
Later. Sorry. All righty. Shall we move right along and talk about boarded building fees? Love boarded building fees. Who's here to talk about boarded building fees? We're halfway in that conversation anyway. I'd love to talk about boarded building fees some more.
Charge a first time that there's no trespassing.
Let me pull up my agenda notes. Remember, guys, the microphone's not just in the front of the room. I know you're not saying bad things, you're just chatty. All right, it was somebody from the Department of Community and Neighborhoods, so. You pull it up, and if you're here and you're waiting, just please make yourself known. I'd love to. If you want to raise your hand, that'd be helpful virtually. make a comment. But we were excited to hear from you, because gosh, is there a neighborhood that cares as much about boarded buildings as Ballpark? I'm not sure. Craig, it was Craig. Craig was maybe gonna come on and talk about boarded buildings. Is Craig in the room? And I don't know Craig. I don't know Craig. So I just know it works for building services. Did Craig get tired of us and leave? That might be true. Okay, well, without Craig, I guess we'll just have to go on and talk about Liberty Corner. Darn it, Craig, we were looking forward to it. You have us all primed.
Did I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
As long as Darren Mano's listening. The fees and punishments that as you're deciding what to do should escalate. I don't want to give a guy a hard time first time around. I'm okay with a warning. The second time, maybe you should do a little more. The third time, you know, it's because I worked there on that street on 13th South, it's just a little bit south where they tore those 3 houses down because they kept catching on fire. That was right across the street from where I worked. And I thought that took a long time to get those houses torn down and get that situation remedied. I wonder if you shouldn't have a system that escalates according to the number of violations. You know, so when somebody is repeating over and over, you get 3 strikes and you're out.
Yeah, you know, that one, I mean, obviously that's maybe the most well-known situation to which this would be very applicable. And that was really an extraordinary situation because it got so bad that the city actually went in and did the demolition, which takes a really long time for us to legally have the right to do that because it's private property that we as the city are going in and demolishing. So we really had to build up a case that that was allowed and it wasn't us basically stealing someone's property. So that is the ultimate like end of what should happen. I hope with this ordinance that it will, first of all, the financial penalty will encourage the property owner to just take care of it themselves before it ever gets to that point. But when that doesn't happen, I hope that this will allow the ultimate result of those properties to happen quicker because we will be keeping better track of them. But I'm with you. I don't think that I think that charging the full fee that we are allowed to charge just to a property that may become abandoned for 1 year while they're trying to figure out what to do, or like maybe there was an actual fire, not a fire because it was abandoned, but like an actual house fire or something, and they needed a year or 2 to figure out if they were going to rebuild or they were going to sell or whatever. I wouldn't want to charge the full fee on that. And I agree about the escalating system. I don't know 100% the details of how we can do that, but I think that it's possible for us to sort of make categories of properties. Or what would be the easiest is to just say first year is this fee and the second year is this fee, but that might not actually weed out the nuisance properties from the non-nuisance properties. So there's some threading the needle that we need to figure out there. But I appreciate that, and I agree with you on the escalating system. Just don't know exactly what it looks like, and we'll figure that out.
All right, I'm messaging online, but Chris, you're here in person.
Yeah, I added myself to the Zoom so we could put up some visuals to
Let's put up some visuals.
Okay.
Are we ready to talk about Liberty Corner?
You bet.
We know where Liberty Corner is.
I will tell you and show you.
Hot dog. Thank you for staying with us through some exciting local democracy.
No worries. Is it okay if I stand right here? I'll be able to point to the screen.
Could you allow Chris Zarek to share?
I sure could, especially if I can find him. La, la, la. Do you want to put up your hand? Or still?
Yeah, I'm
30
trying to
There you are.
figure out how
Okay.
to do that.
I'm gonna make you co-host, and that should give you all the powers. Yep. There would be an option of those, but let's say that. Wait, I don't want you to unmute. That'll.
I stayed muted.
Thank
don't
you.
worry.
Sorry, I
Um,
apologize. That would have created the worst situation. Can you share screen yet?
You don't know what I just.
I'm happy to share a screen.
All right.
Multiple persons able to join you to share screen.
All right.
Wild and
Okay,
crazy.
yep.
Go wild and crazy, people.
Chris is there making co-host. Yeah, I can share slides.
Are you good? Do you have
Yeah.
the sound for shouting?
Okay, thank you. My name is Chris Zarek. I am with Cowboy Partners. Zach Jones is here with me as well. We wanted to come and talk about Liberty Corner. We're actually in to the city right now with the design review application. This is at the corner of, if we go to the next slide. We're at the corner of 13 South and 300 West. You probably know it as the Schmidt Sign Company. And Schmidt Auto Body is right just to the north of it. So we purchased this site late last year. And there are still, the Schmidt Sign Company moved to a new location. Schmidt Auto Body is in their location for about another month and a half or so, but they've been there throughout the year here. And there is another tenant that is in some of the other buildings that are part of the Schmidt Sign Company site. In the meantime, we have been putting together, we can go to the next, and I'm sorry, I did a pretty crude layer over here just to kind of give a little closer look at our site plan, but we inhabit essentially that fronts 13 South, 3rd West, and Lucy Avenue. Of course, you know, there's the row homes there and the new housing project community that went up right next to the track station right there. And we have the Granite Company, the warehouse is still right next to our property there. So Liberty Corner is 200 homes. They are 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments. This is an affordable community. So, and I should say more than half of those are 3 and 4 bedrooms. So we have 96 2-bedroom, 80 3-bedroom homes, and 24 4-bedrooms.
When you, may I ask a question? When you say it's an affordable community, does that mean that it's partly funded by LIHTC?
Yes.
Okay.
In this, essentially what it means is all of the units are rent restricted
Right.
in some way in our situation. We do have both 4% and 9% tax credit.
Okay. LIHTC is a low income, and let me see if I'm getting this right, low income housing tax credit. And that's is that a 30-year restriction that it puts on the property?
These will be 50.
Okay.
So, and generally that's, it's mandated to be at least 15. That's a compliance period for our tax credit partner, but Utah Housing Corporation, the people that allocate tax credits generally demand a 50-year. And we have support from city, county, and state sources as well to help make this happen. We have great partners there, and they also ask for extended periods. So that will be a land use restriction that will be on title for the entirety of that period. The rents will be restricted in a range from 25% of area median income to 80% of area median income, and kind of spread out across that range. So some of the units will be pretty deeply targeted and those incomes kind of fluctuate according to the family size that we might expect to be in a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom unit. But you know, for your information, the area median income of a family of 4 in Salt Lake County is about $104,000. So that's the median income of that family of 4. So a 3-bedroom unit, which in HUD speak serves a family of 4.5. We have units that will be, you know, serving families with incomes down to $30,000 up to, you know, $72,000 and kind of everywhere in between. So we can go to the next, just to talk a little bit about the ground level. We expect that over time, there will be large families in these units just because of the uniqueness of this type of community. Large apartments are fairly unique in multifamily developments and communities generally, but certainly in affordable housing in particular. So over time, we expect that there will be large families. We're expecting a lot of children. We're expecting multi-generational families. If for no other reason, there's really not a project like this one in Salt Lake City right now. As such, we expect that there will be 700 to 800 people living in this community. And we have made an attempt to put together a program, an amenity program and common space that is more indicative of that large population as opposed to what we might do for a typical 200 apartment project, which might have 350 people. At the ground level on 1300 South, we have all of the parking is screened and it's within a podium. I believe we have about 200 and I think 280 parking spaces. So and they're all within, you know, put within the podium. We have entrances off 1300 South, and we tried to move it as far away from the intersection there because we know that it stacks. Lucy Avenue is a more quiet street. We do have an entrance off of Lucy as well, so that we're not driving everything through one location. The community itself will be inhabiting the 1300 South ground level. On the corner of Lucy Avenue and 3rd West, we have a daycare plan. So it is sized for approximately 100 children. Adjoining that is a playground that is dedicated to the daycare. So it's attached. You'll see in some of the rendering, we have about a 20 to 22 foot space right there under the podium, right? So it's part of that playground is inhabiting under the podium. We have doors and garage doors and we can open up those bays so that that playground can flow out into the portion that is open to the air. In detrimental weather or bad air quality days, those doors can be closed. That can be controlled in some way, but we're intending for that daycare to handle a lot of the demand that we expect to have from families in this community. But we have planned it with its entrance and loading on Lucy Avenue so that for children that might be coming from the neighborhood, there is kind of a drop-off pattern there, and we can find a place to try and do that safely. We are talking specifically to daycare operators to bring someone on so that we can, do some, specific and mission-specific design there to the operator that's going to be coming in. But we won't necessarily do the operations ourselves. We'll bring in a third-party operator, and we have partners and people that we know in that world to come in and handle that. Zach, you want to move on? So a little bit bigger. We are, one thing I should state. So we have put most of the operational program onto Lucy because it is a slower street, 3rd West and 1300 South, of course, are busy. So, you know, our move-ins, our loading dock, our trash room, our mail room and all of the packages and the things that really drive a lot of the heavier traffic for this community are planned to be, you know, off onto Lucy and further away from the busier streets. The next one, Zach. So, one of the things that, you know, the amenity deck, the roof deck has not necessarily been fully fleshed out in terms of programming, you know, with our landscape architect and with our designers, but this is the 3rd level. It would be, you know, this is essentially the top of the podium, so this will be the roof deck. There are 5 levels of housing that kind of look that embrace the roof deck here. So we've got this, besides the amenity space and, you know, which will include lounge space, flex classroom space, event space, co-working space. We have that kind of amenity at the ground level. At the 3rd level here, we have 2 different amenity spaces, and they're meant to kind of communicate with each other across this, you know, which we're kind of calling the backyard because that's how it's intended to function. But one thing we recognize here is that we're going to have a wide range of demographics, right? Ages, generations. So we'll have toddlers, we'll have teens, we'll have seniors, adults. So we wanted to give ourselves both, you know, some different amenity spaces so that we can have a toddler room that might flow out to a tot lot. We can have a teen lounge. We can have, you know, more of an adult lounge with a kitchen and then flow out to outdoor spaces that, you know, we're intending right now to have a pool or a splash pad or some sort of water feature on the roof deck here. Things like planter boxes, community gardens, just plain hangout areas. We're trying to find a way to bring this all together so that we can serve, you know, people from a wide array of interests and ages. So Zach, I'll have you move through just, you know, and the next one as well. So this is just our kind of typical residential floor, and this is the top one. And I pull this out. We kind of recognize this is a large building. These units are on average about 1,100 square feet. And when you have 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and a living room, you know, you end up taking up a long stretch of window line just to make sure everyone has access to light and air and so forth. So it is a large building. And so you'll see when we get to some of the perspectives that we've tried our best to create breaks and create changes in massing that can try to break down the scale a little bit. So and that kind of goes into the materiality as well. What we are hoping is that people, when they're on the street, will read this as, you know, they're all brick. They all kind of have somewhat of a similar look, but we hope that they'll read more as smaller neighborhood buildings, you know, that have a kind of collective feel to them as opposed to one large building. So I have just a kind of standard bedroom plan. Of course, we have several 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom plans depending on how the corners and different things work out. But I pulled out the ones that are the most straightforward and probably the most plentiful. But you know, this is a fairly standard and straightforward 2-bedroom plan that you would honestly see in a lot of multifamily communities around Salt Lake City. Zach, if you move to the 3-bedroom, what you'll see in the 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom is, again, you know, we tried to make a stress in, you know, providing a variety of spaces, washer and dryer in every unit, storage where we can do it, and, you know, larger islands. One things that we see, we are long-term owners. We're also operators. We do all the property management for our communities, and you know, we expect there to be large families. We know there's quite honestly not always a kitchen table that comes along with these families. So in everything we're doing, we're trying to make sure that we're kind of serving the needs of larger families to the best that we can. Exactly what the full-fledged plan. So in some cases, you'll see, we have in the 4-bedroom, we might have 2 masters, again, thinking about families that might have, a set of parents, a set of grandparents, a couple smaller rooms for children, and finding ways to bring those all together. So we'll move Zach to the next one just to look at some of the elevations. So it was important to us to, this community we think is, our residents are going to call this place home, right? And there might be a home for a long time. We expect that people will get invested in the neighborhood. We expect children to be here. They're going to be in schools. And so it was important to us that, this feel like a place with, some solidity and, a place that is a little bit distinguished and people can be proud to call it home. Our primary exterior material here is brick. And we felt that kind of played well, especially with the ballpark and our designers, our architect here is MBE. And they kind of looked around the neighborhood, looked around a little bit at the material palette. We do have some panel that will either be cement fiberboard or metal panel in some of the areas where we've broken up brick. You'll see the ground level in general. We're the podium. We have generally 2-story spaces or double height spaces here with a lot of glazing, awning, trying to create some sort of sense of pedestrian scale at the street and some visual interest there. You'll see one of the things that the designer was a little bit taken by in the neighborhood, and we certainly saw it on this particular site. A lot of the businesses in this area, Schmidt Sign Company, it was something you could tell had kind of grown over time, and it had become this kind of agglomeration of buildings. And one of the things that you see in some of the warehouses and the industrial spaces that are part of the history of this neighborhood is, the addition of some of these spaces to the top and undulating roof lines. And so that was a little bit of the inspiration behind, the roof line. We don't just necessarily like to have just flat roofs or something that just ends, right? We feel like residential spaces have pitch. And so we wanted to bring in some gables, and we wanted to bring in a little bit of variation in the tops of these roofs. Move on, Zach. So just to kind of go through some perspectives from the 3-dimensional model here. So this is the corner of 13th South and 3rd West running off to the left. So the entry to the multifamily community is actually to the east there. And the entry to the daycare would be around the corner right here.
So a daycare is one of those special spaces that restricts some of the other kinds of use that the surrounding area can have. I'm guessing that's at least 600 feet from like the engine block building where Shades Brewing is, for example.
Yes, I mean, it's the depth, the depth of the site itself is almost half of that.
Got it.
This looking from the east on 1300 South to, we have an entry here to the garage and a small parking court to serve the leasing office of the community. And then next one's that. And then finally here looking more at the Lucy Avenue and 3rd West, and the space that will become the daycare and loading area, just kind of depicted there within this particular model. Move on to this. So we have, you can kind of see here again, it's not so fleshed out, but you can start to see from aerial here how how that interior courtyard starts to break up and create different zones there. And the notches that we created to try and break the scale of the building down just a little bit. The last one here. That's what I have. But I am more than happy to take any questions.
And I know you talked a lot about providing for children and second generation planning. I live just 2 blocks east of that and about 4 blocks south. And our neighborhood is wonderful. Was originally planned 100 years ago, and has shows the 100-year-old trees lining the streets, brick homes, a lot of the things that you've incorporated that are really nice. That compliments all your efforts. The rooftops, I think, are angled because about every 6 years we get 6 feet of snow between Christmas and New Year's. And that, that's a practical reason why we have angled rooftops. Flat rooftops don't survive in Utah very long. But I also really enjoyed having a labradoodle. It's a sheepadoodle technically, but I'm wondering if you guys are going to allow pets in your building, and if you have accommodations for those pets to relieve themselves, and enjoy their lives.
Yeah, sure. Right now, so Zach, maybe kind of move it up to one of the ground level plans. So we originally designed the community pulling back 10 feet from every boundary, which was the setbacks for the commercial general zone until 2 or 3 months ago when they changed. And one of the setbacks that changed was actually the interior setback, which changed to 0. We have kept the 10-foot setback on the east side between that property there and our the ground level podium that we have. So that kind of creates a long strip there that we'll control at both sides, but our intention right now is to take that and make it just kind of a long dock, little Ballpark right there, so that there's a place for that.
Yeah, you guys.
We were talking about setbacks. What are we looking at, like for sidewalk width on 13th and additional setback space? Because I know there's the newest building along the tracks station there is practically on the street.
Yeah. It's funny, the front setback in the commercial general zone used to be a minimum of 10. It's now gone to a maximum of 10. And ours actually goes from 10 feet on the east side, and it's about 15 at this at the intersection here, 3rd West and 13th South. And so that one of the things we'll be asking for relief for through the design review is that extra 5 feet. And that was important to us. If you walk on that property right now, it's right there, right? It feels very unsafe and uncomfortable. And so pushing it off so that we could take the public way that's there and have some additional private property to create a wider sidewalk and give bring the building back so that we also had areas for entryways and places for people to gather, and just to give a little bit of breathing space to the kind of public private area on the street. That was important to us. I think, right now the city has 6 to 7 feet as part of the, redesign that's happened here. And, we'll have a similar thing. Of course, we've got a large, 10 to 15 feet of sidewalk and hardscape at the daycare. But we wanted a big apron there to handle all the activities that's gonna happen there.
Paul Johnson, you had a question. I thought I'd unmute you to ask it from the internet world. Paul Johnson, former chair of Central 9 Community Council.
So I'm not seeing, there seems to be one section that says leasing space on 1300 South, and then a section that says amenity. Amenity tends to be for the residents only in the building. Why is there not ground level businesses being built in here at this major corner where you have so many people walking from tracks, and hundreds of new residents in this building and in other nearby buildings? Seems like such a lost opportunity, and I don't think anything should be built on 1300 South that doesn't have a business on the ground level.
I guess I could say right now we've got almost 11,000 square feet of commercial space, and I mean, I can understand it's a fair point. We also, as part of what we do, as part of the 4% and 9% tax credits, we have things that we are committed to as part of our 9% tax credits. We have to have flex space and meeting space for life skills classes comes through, because some of these units will be dedicated for underserved populations. And we want to have event space. We want to have amenity spaces that are open to the community in general, but we, especially with this community this large, we will need some additional space that is dedicated to regular events, regular classes, co-working, and other things that we feel fit well at the ground level. So we just weren't in a position to devote the entire streetscape to third-party retail. We needed to keep some of it for the community.
But to reiterate, you said there was 11,000 square feet.
Well, I mean, so we've got about 5,000 square feet of daycare and about 5,500 square feet of playground.
Is the daycare open to the general public or just residents of the building?
It will be open to the general public. It likely will have a preference for residents of the building, and part of tax credit, affordable housing development prioritizes providing those daycare services on a sliding scale to residents of the community, but it will be open to the general public as well.
Where's all the parking gonna be?
All the parking for the community will be in the ground level and second level, so there we go. So we have access on the east side and the north and south. We have one level here. There's a speed ramp that gets up to a second level that has a similar parking count, as well as some tandem spots.
And didn't you say there was only gonna be 280 spaces
Yes, sir.
with 700 to 800 people?
We have 200 homes. Yeah, I mean, again, we're not expecting 700 or 800 drivers, and 1.4 is the largest parking ratio we have of any of our communities downtown. We have about a dozen.
Sorry, I just thought about it. The condominiums on the corner had 1.4 and our street is packed with cars. There's just not enough. You've got 2 people working 2 cars.
What's the name of your organization?
Cowboy Partners.
They will be considerably closer to a track station. There is that. I mean, it's gonna be steps.
I can
away.
imagine 200 people trying to exit east. There's one entrance and one exit.
Two. So there are 2, and it's a fair point. I'll be honest. If we had room for any more parking, I would do it. We are not shy about parking. Again, this will be affordable for 50 years. I expect we might own it for that entire 50 years. And, we don't want to create headaches for ourselves or our neighbors. So we do have a requirement to screen, we do have a requirement for uses, and there, things have to happen at the ground level. And if we had the means to do more parking, we certainly would.
You have it's more than a lot of other development in that area. And they're not required to have
Yeah, exactly.
Requirement is 0, so.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh, it's at least one parking space. So there's 0 requirement by city planning or?
Based on the proximity to the
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also, there's certain cuts that they allow for affordable projects. I mean, I have a family, right? We're driving all over the place. We understand that even if you're using tracks, even if you're working in the neighborhood, there's just demand for vehicular travel sometimes. We just didn't have any more feet vertically to even try to put in a third level of parking, which is what that would demand.
Can you tell us more about the daycare? And I say that because I think all of Salt Lake is looking for, even though we have more dogs than kids, is what keeps getting repeated in the Salt Lake Tribune and other places. I think there are a lot of folks who are looking for daycare options, and I know we just had a policy change go through city council regarding daycares and their requirements. Can you tell us about, the income restrictions on your housing are good for 50 years. Tell us more about the permanence of this daycare.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, that's our task right now. So we're in the process of meeting with operators and trying to find someone that we have confidence in will be there for the long term. We have set this up internally so that we're not expecting income from this space. This space is meant to be an important part of the community, an important part of the program, an important part of the amenities. It's not a revenue generator for us. So, it's incumbent upon us to find an operator that we trust and is stable. And then we're giving them every means we can to succeed and try and take all of the financial burden off of that. So, I can't guarantee that an operator that we have in there isn't going to fold up shop and we're going to have to go out finding a new one. And so it keeps us up. But we do, we're starting first with people that we do have a direct connection with and some competence and who have been doing it in the city here for decades.
I guess what I'm asking is if, for example, you pick an operator with whom you have a great stable relationship and they happen to fold in the next 4 or 5 years, are you in some legal way obligated to maintain that space at care, or can you say we gave it our best shot, but actually this is going to be a coffee shop now?
We wouldn't be obligated to do it.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, sure. And at the same time, this is an important part of making our community, the residential community, an appealing place to live. So, I can't come up here and say, that we have this obligation and it's hard and fast, never going to change. But I can tell you that I would fight kicking and screaming because there's no reason for it. That's what that means, and that's what we designed it for.
All right, recorded meeting, kicking and screaming. And I guess maybe it'd be helpful just to remind folks, this isn't a rezone, this is a design review. So that means you're gonna go before the planning commission and say, here's our proposal. It meets the zoning requirements, except blah, blah, blah.
What kicks us into a design review is the commercial general has a height limit and we are slightly higher than that. Okay. And that is the reason. So we must get approval from the planning commission in order to get the height that we're asking for, which is the tops of the gables are about 85 feet.
And that's it. There's no setback differences or anything like that.
Well, yes, now since they changed, so this is supposed to be a maximum of 10 and it's about 15.
Got it. Take that, Jim. Sorry.
So she's talking to people on chat is what she's.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm talking to you.
And nor am I talking to spectral being.
Yeah.
Somebody may have suggested your setbacks were inadequate. I wanted to maybe highlight.
Yes, they're actually over. They were set to the minimum of the previous, so.
Got it.
I don't know the solution or if there is one, but have you considered the number of people you're gonna add to that corner crossing 300 west and 1300 south to go to Walmart, Burger King, and all that? Is there anything you do to mitigate the potential for accidents?
That is scary, isn't it?
Yeah, typically, we've been through a design review team, meeting with the city, which is where you kind of meet with the various city departments. And then we're in the process right now. On Monday, I'm meeting with the fire department again. Will be, that meeting would be with the transportation department, right, to understand. I know that they've put a lot into the crossings here, and there we have some limited ability to affect 300 west because there's a moratorium there.
That setback would work towards it as well.
Right.
It all just right up to the very.
Sure. So having this area here for people to actually collect while they're waiting for crossing.
The daycare right there, and Burger King.
Are you talking about the winter moratorium, or are you talking about a long-term moratorium on 300 west?
There's a moratorium to just getting into the street and making changes there.
Well,
But
except for the crossings, because they can adjust the crossings on top of it, so.
but I mean, I think that's a reasonable point. I don't know that we have a lot of more space to give, but I think once the setbacks were changed, we made the decision that there was no reason for us to move forward either. Having that space, we felt was important, not just for the streetscape, but for the residents as well. Zach, can we go to the perspective that shows the daycare side? So, the architects here kind of put in, just a bunch of grasses here, which is, this isn't actually the landscape plan, but, sorry, there should be one more down, is looking at it from the back side. There you go. Yeah, so, not a great visual here, but there should be between 15 and 20 feet on this Lucy Avenue side, so that people coming from the loading zone, so that there's plenty of hardscape and exterior space that's away from the street, keeping people into the building.
Well, I'm glad we got funding for Jefferson Park, because that's the closest playground that they'll have. That's 0.7 miles away, so.
Or is it only for the daycare, or is it also for the residents?
The residents will have a separate, kind of separate play spaces up on the third floor.
Does the third floor deck have grass? It's green, but I couldn't tell.
Oh, well, yeah, and that's just the shading here, so it will have vegetation, it won't necessarily be grass, so.
Okay.
And then we do have a multi-use court too, that is for the residents, that you might have seen that in the ground level plan, so we do have kind of a small court space where, we might be able to do basketball or kind of different. Pickleball.
Cool, pickleball.
That's right, that's right.
We get like storage or parking, right?
We do. So there is on the ground level, we have recognizing that we have the multi-use path here, and we certainly hope that people make use of that. So we've got, a large bike storage space next to the ramp.
Janice, it might be helpful just to provide like a section, with how that fits into the street improvements, what that's going to look like with the building of where it's located. And then how, the paths and whatever landscaping that they have there.
I know that right now we have our surveyor out here because we had our original survey done and then all the work was done. So we have someone going out to kind of mark where everything is. And as we build out this streetscape with our landscape architect, I'm happy to kind of share how that comes together. Sure.
Do you have a timeline? Do you have any guesses?
We will be doing demolition and hazardous material removal, everything that's involved with that, and some soil remediation this upcoming spring. And that will feed into a construction process that will start in June.
So this is already a done deal. We have no say in it.
Well, I should
Yeah.
say, I can't go forward if I don't get a approval
From the
from the
city,
planning
not from the
commission.
people, from the city.
That-
You're
yes.
always welcome to go make public comments
Oh,
from
yeah.
the planning commission.
Um,
It's a good time in front of the planning commission, let me tell you.
So I think the expectation is that we'll be in front of the planning commission in the first part of January. In the first meeting in January, so I think that's our, that's what I've been told. There's one meeting in December and it already has 10 agenda items. So that would be the place. I don't know that they asked for a recommendation or a recommendation of denial from the community council for design reviews, but that's that part I'm not well versed on for design reviews. But
But what I'm saying is you're already talking about demolition. And so if it's not a done deal, how come you're already planning demolition?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have some, so that would happen after our approval. I mean, once we have approval of the design review, we have a pretty good sense that everything's gonna be good to go. We'll have to finish out our permitting process. But there is a fairly lengthy environmental remediation that has to happen on this site. Both
What was there
with,
before?
what's that?
What was there before in that area?
There is a sign company which did a lot of painting.
Oh, so it's oil and stuff. And okay, fine.
And then, of course, anything that was built in the middle part of the last decade has asbestos everywhere. It's like the miracle material apparently, at one time.
Didn't burn. We were interested in preventing people from catching on fire.
Tape for himself, he lose weight.
Boy, it's dark in there.
I'm sorry.
He's getting tired.
All right. Have we grilled him enough? We've.
Yes. Amy does have my email address.
I certainly do.
Always happy to take email, take comments. I don't. We're again, we are the developer. We manage everything up to, and then we have our sister company, Cowboy Properties, is the property manager. So we will own and operate this thing. We will be in the neighborhood here for a long time. But I'm always happy to ask additional questions or take any comments or anything else you might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a lot of community engagement, holy smokes. I believe we are ready to wrap things up because I do not see anybody online to talk about border building piece.
They were here.
What? We got those on.
Okay, so if you're going to do elections next, or what do you do?
I didn't know if you wanted to announce them as the folks, the body that collected the information.
We only did the online, it was, all we did was the online, so we didn't tally any of the stuff, so. But I just wanted to make one announcement about the part that Elko participated in, which was only registering and monitoring the online voting process for tonight's meeting. That we understand that we did not officially state that the second poll was open for voting. So thus we had 3 individuals who were not pre-registered in the meeting that missed the online poll. And we gave them the option to instead DM Elko directly, and we provided their votes anonymously to the poll takers who tallied all of the votes together. So we just wanted to make sure that there was knowledge that we apparently, when we closed the mistaken first poll and opened to the corrected second poll, that we did not officially announce that. So if there's anybody still out there in the Zoom who feels like they were not able to vote, we need to hear from you right now. So can you please raise your hand? If you feel like you still need to vote. Okay, seeing none, we are officially closing the online poll.
All right. Okay. That was a huge effort on the part of East Liberty Park community. Thank you for enabling hyper-local democracy. And thank you all for participating tonight and giving us your attention. It's a big deal. It probably doesn't surprise you that I won the vote for chair. Doesn't feel right to announce it yourself. With 60 votes, thank you very much for your confidence. I'll try to keep doing my best to serve this community. I take this very seriously. Thanks. Board members, with 48 votes and 45 votes, welcome Janice and John. We very much look forward to opening a business subcommittee because we feel that your contributions are necessary and wanted. And I think there are it's been a while since we've had business representation. So I hope that you and John can put your heads together and help concoct some ideas for what businesses in our neighborhood to need to help connect and flourish, and what we can do as a community organization to support you in customer facing businesses and less customer facing businesses, because you guys are the cornerstone that make our neighborhood work. That node at Main Street and 17th South is very important to make our neighborhood function. Thank you. Thank you all. All right. Thank you, Zoom land. Have a good evening.